Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
8:07 now as we fly through this final hour of this program and the week's worth of programs for that matter. If you missed anything this week or this morning, please subscribe to our podcast. It's O'Connor and Company on every platform you get your podcasts. It's our radio program, but in podcast form, because people tell me they like podcasts. So sure, we're on board. You can get it. Usually we post it a couple of hours after the program. All right, coming up in 30 minutes, we'll speak with James Fishback. I've been following him on social media and on cable news hits. He's got a really interesting position on our financial world, and he's even suing Jerome Powell and the Fed over interest rates. We'll get to that. That's Patrice Onwuka on this Friday. Good morning, Patrice.
Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. We made it.
Joining us right now is Margaret Olohan from the Daily Wire. She's there at the White House almost daily now, and or traveling with the president for that matter. Really fun watching you, Mary Margaret, as this whole new golden era unfolds, and you get a front row seat to it. Are you enjoying yourself?
I am, and good morning to both of you. It's great to be here, and so much fun to be covering the Trump White House in this age of new media.
Yes. Well, and the Trump White House is about to go through quite a bit of a transformation. Here's President Trump yesterday speaking about it. This is cut 16.
We've been planning it for a long time. They've wanted a ballroom at the White House for more than 150 years, but there's never been a president that was good at ballrooms. I'm really good. In fact, I looked at one that we just built in Turnberry in Scotland, and it's incredible. We're good at building. I'm good at building things, and we'll get it built quickly and on time. It'll be beautiful, top of the line.
I'm good at building things. It'll be done quickly, top of the line, and on time. All right, so then immediately Chuck Schumer, down the street at the Capitol, made an unfounded allegation. Listen.
Here's even something more confounding. Some breaking news. Just now, the White House announced construction of a $200 million White House ballroom that will begin in September. A $200 million ballroom. Where'd this money come from? Did Congress appropriate it? I don't think so. It's almost like Doge was never about waste at all.
Mary Margaret Olohan, let's get to the facts. Unlike Chuck Schumer, we actually deal in facts here and not wild speculation and unfounded charges. So where did the money come from, Mary Margaret?
Well, if Chuck Schumer had done any research whatsoever, he would know that the president and other donors are actually funding this project themselves. And that was something that the White House said in their release when they announced all of these new changes yesterday. They said the president, along with other quote-unquote patriot donors, are committed to funding the project, which is really interesting, I think, because, President Trump, like he said, is a builder. He spent his entire life building things. He's very devoted to making them beautiful in the style, of his other buildings, of appropriate architecture, depending on the place, whether it's Mar-a-Lago or New York City. He's very, very interested. If you look into his background, he pays so much attention. He's on the ground being part of these different structures. So it makes sense that he'd be really invested in the ballroom itself at the White House, and that he would care a lot about matching the integrity of the building and the architectural structure. Yeah. And, this specific ballroom is supposed to be almost identical to the White House itself, though it's going to be a little bit separated from the main building. But it's going to be classical architecture. It's going to be in a traditional style so that it's a beautiful ballroom to host visitors at the White House, as presidents have long wished for. They've never had a ballroom space like this at the White House before. And their current capacity only really allows for, I believe, around 200 guests, whereas this new ballroom will allow, I believe, 650 guests, which is a big difference.
Mary Margaret, I'm looking at the images that you shared on your X account and of what the renderings of what the White House ballroom will look like, and they are stunning. They are very beautiful. And I like the idea of more events being hosted by the White House. Do you have a sense now? Groundbreaking begins in September. Do you have a sense of how long it's going to take for it to be completed, and how we can get on the guest list to dance? I've already promised Hans von Spakovsky a dance. My first dance has to be with my husband. I want to reserve one for President Trump if I ever get that honor. But when can we expect the invitations to go out?
We're thinking full-on Regency era Pride and Prejudice ball. Let's go.
Larry, I would be there. That sounds like a lot of fun. No, this is really exciting. I actually think one of the most interesting things about this is that the architect is James McCreary, who's a DC-based architect. I've met him. He's a very wonderful person to chat with. He's also the architect of some really beautiful Catholic churches around the country, which, this is a rarer and rarer thing to find someone that's willing to embrace traditional classical architecture. Anyone who's been in a church over the past, anytime recently, will tell you that there's such a big difference between modern architecture and classical traditional architecture. Just on a very basic level, if you go to a Catholic church, it's very clear whether the architect was trying to lift your mind to God versus just, trying to have some very modern or, basic faith elements. And McCreary, who's going to be designing this ballroom, is really interested in traditionalism and symbolism. And if you look at some of his past comments on this topic, it's very clear that he cares more about the beauty of it and the tradition rather than some of these more modern concepts. So I'm really excited to see how this turns out. I really like the pictures that the White House put out. I think that they match the integrity of the White House very well, and so this will probably look very, very fluid and make a lot of sense in the structure that we're looking at.
The floor-to-ceiling arched windows are absolutely majestic with a view out to Washington, D.C. It's a great look. Will the footprint of the White House change at all? This is going to be in the place of the East Room, is that right?
Yes. So they talked about this at the White House press briefing yesterday. A bunch of people had questions on it. So it's going to be on the same site where the East Wing currently sits. And they talked about how the East Wing was constructed in 1902, and it's been renovated and changed many times. They added a second story, I think, in around the 1940s. And so this will be a little bit separated from the main building, but it's going to be largely on that site. I believe currently the office of the First Lady is in the East Wing and a couple other offices. So Caroline Leavitt at the press briefing said that they're going to be moved for a little while the construction's going on, and then ultimately things will be back to their proper places.
Also, people are saying it's donors who are making it. Under what sort of financial body do the donations come in? Are they setting up a separate foundation to cover these expenses? Will there be a paper trail? I can understand people saying, hey, wait, hold on. If somebody gives a bunch of money for this, Trump's ballroom, will they expect a quid pro quo? What will the paper trail be? That sort of thing.
That's a great question, Larry. I'll have to ask what the White House that, because I'm interested in that as well. But I think it speaks a lot to the president's interest in building this project because, Chuck Schumer would like to say that this is some kind of, effort by the president to make the American taxpayer pay for a project that's going to benefit him. I think the White House would argue that this is the president and his administration, making the White House more beautiful and better for the American public and for generations to come. This is an addition to the White House that I think maybe in 100 years people will be visiting, looking at this beautiful ballroom, and some tour guide will be saying, yes, President Trump added this beautiful ballroom, amid controversy from the left because he thought it would be a great addition to the White House. And now look at how many historic events have happened here. So, it's one of those things that might cause a little controversy right now, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a beautiful addition, and I think that it'll be a historic one as well.
Really quickly, do we think it'll be wrapped up before the end of the president's term, or because I wouldn't trust the next person if it's not a Republican to continue the renovation if it's not done before he leaves?
I would be very surprised if it wasn't wrapped up before the end of the president's term. I think he wants to have events there as soon as possible.
Okay.
And J.D. Vance's inaugural ball, of course.
Well, there you go.
Just saying. Our next Catholic president. Am I right, Mary Margaret? Am I right?
You never know. You never know.
Stay objective.
Or Marco Rubio.
They're both Catholic. It works.
That's right.
Thanks, Mary Margaret.
you,
Have a
Mary
great
Margaret.
weekend.